Council may have finally settled on a reason why they won't investigate their ally, Mayor Michael Hancock, for sexual harassment. First, they said they were worried an investigation would re-victimize the mayor's accusal. She then came out and said she wanted the investigation. So last night, Council said that it cannot investigate the mayor, though they said they all found his behavior unacceptable. Unacceptable enough that they wouldn't support his re-election? Marshall Zellinger asked him.
Let's welcome members of Denver City Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Albus Brooks, Northeast Denver, Fine District 9.
At his weekly mayor council meeting, Mayor Michael Hancock was joined by 6 of the 13 council members. Just a note, not every council member shows up to these meetings every week. By watching this morning's meeting, you wouldn't have known City Council spent a second straight week last night in a closed-door executive session getting advice from the City Council's lawyer on whether or not to investigate the mayor for his texts with Denver Police Detective Leslie Branch Weiss. Follow us so far? As we reported last month, the City Council's counsel, Kirsten Crawford, was hired by City Council, but answers to City Attorney Kristen Bronson, who was hired by the mayor. However, because City Council is Kirsten Crawford's client, attorney-client privilege does not allow her to talk about her conversations with Council with her boss. In a statement last night saying there would be no investigation, Council President Albus Brooks wrote, "Each council member agrees that Mayor Hancock's conduct was unacceptable. So we emailed every council member to see if they support Hancock's effort to seek a third term as mayor. That election is 1 year and 1 month away. We heard back from 5. In order, Mary Beth Sussman replied, 'Good question, but I have no comment.' Robin Kinich wrote, 'I haven't endorsed any mayoral candidates in the past or upcoming race.' Kevin Flynn, 'Just as when I ran in 2015, I don't take positions on candidates for other city offices.' And Paul Lopez pointed out Hancock has yet to file the paperwork to run and said it's still much too early to make a call on next summer's elections. And Councilwoman Debbie Ortega said, 'I do not currently plan to endorse a candidate in the 2019 mayoral election.'"
Mayor Hancock is not required to take the online sexual harassment prevention training, which is now mandated of all city workers, though his spokeswoman says the mayor took the training voluntarily. So did our Jeremy Hohola.
The video is 11 minutes long, and it's loaded with the do's and don'ts about sexual harassment in the workplace. At the very beginning, the city's top attorney.
This is a serious topic that requires all of us to understand it and how to prevent it.
The video goes on to define what sexual harassment can be with some pretty common sense definitions. And yes, there is a moment that addresses texting.
Texting or sexting sexually explicit messages or pictures via a cell phone.
Employees are then told in the video to immediately report sexual harassment to their supervisor or human resources. And then the video ends with some pretty serious remarks.
Besides being illegal, sexual harassment creates an unproductive, unpleasant, and sometimes even hostile working environment.
So the big question you're wondering, did Mayor Michael Hancock sit through this video? We are told by a spokesperson that yes, he did a few weeks ago. The city also insists that this video was planned months ago, well before his accuser came forward. For Next, I'm Jeremy Hohola.
Quick side note on this. An investigation into Mayor Hancock's actions would have cost Denver taxpayers some amount of money. Trying to put a price tag on it, we looked to Longmont. There, last year, the city hired an outside firm to investigate a claim that female council members were harassed by male council members. That investigation determined that the claim was unfounded. The cost to Longmont taxpayers was just about $10,000. A Republican candidate for governor says he misspoke on this program yesterday. Businessman Barry Farah from Colorado Springs was criticizing Denver as a sanctuary city when he said this.
To me, it's not really a sanctuary. It's more of a sedition city.
Farah later tweeted that he did not mean to call Denver a sedition city. He meant to call Denver a secession city. Sedition is a federal crime to overthrow the government. It is punishable by death. Farah says that he was trying to use the word secession to draw a comparison between Denver and former Confederate cities of the South that resisted federal rule after the Civil War. Glad we have cleared that up. Colorado's prison system began telling more victims where their perpetrators are following our investigation on secret out-of-state prisoners. Still, the state legislature now wants to keep the Department of Corrections from rolling back this new transparency. Anastasia Bolton updates us from the Capitol.
All right, Senate Bill 14. Who wants to start? Representative Wist.
Under the Interstate Corrections Compact, our state has been transferring prisoners outside the state without transparency and without notifying victims as to the locations of those offenders. This bill is intended to correct and to right a wrong that was done to these victims.
A longtime practice of hiding certain inmates may come to an end. Senate Bill 14 could force DOC's hand to notify victims of where certain inmates are serving time. DOC says the agency has already started telling people.
As of today's date, out of the offenders we have out of state, there's 47 that have victims enrolled, and we've been able to notify all the victims of those offenders.
Some victims have told 9 News they have waited for this information for at least a decade.
We'd like to call up Tom Sullivan first, please.
Tom Sullivan's son, Alex, died in the Aurora movie theater. Tom's been fighting for all victims to have this information available.
Those over 300 moviegoers had their dreams shattered on July 20th. And I can only imagine the nightmares that they must have. Help these victims sleep at night. Let them and others know we will always be looking out for them and keep them informed about where these inmates are located. Will it?
Yes.
Today, the House Judiciary Committee unanimously voted to move the bill forward. It has a couple of more steps before the governor's desk. Hard to say what will happen, but at least the people in this room today said that they had victims in mind.
Ensuring that victims have rights, that victims are able to know where the perpetrator of their crime is very important.
For Next, I'm Anastasia Bolton.
For his part, Governor Hickenlooper used to defend Colorado's secret prisoners. Then he applauded the newfound transparency, and he has indicated that he will sign this bill if it reaches his desk. Hey, speaking of keeping stuff out in the open, we are still waiting to be able to show you the city of Denver's new letter to all of the people who might be forced out of their homes. This is the debacle with the affordable housing program. The mayor told us that the first letter we showed you had some unfortunate language. This is the letter that told people who had mistakenly ended up in affordable housing through no fault of their own that they might be forced out, have to sell their homes at a loss and leave. The city has said that we can see the letter and you can see the letter when it goes out to hundreds of homeowners tomorrow. Street sweeping in Denver begins today, and if you see one of the city's shiny new sweepers, say buongiorno, because they're imported from Italy.
$230,000 a piece, state-of-the-art Italian engineering, tighter, responsive steering, and upgraded vacuum. You know, got me thinking, if that's all we need, we can grab a Ferrari for $200,000, slap a few dustbusters on the undercarriage, and get clean in Denver. Or go for the soft touch, the elegant styling of a fleet of Maseratis outfitted with feather dusters. And if you want to go fancy, I mean top of the line, buy a bunch of Lambos and equip them with Dysons. I mean, that is a really high-end vacuum, and it still would probably be cheaper than Denver's new Italian street sweepers.
Following up on a topic of conversation here last night, the TV station group Sinclair forcing local news anchors to read the same script, bashing the media for fake news. Viewer named JC asked a really good question. How the situation with Sinclair is any different from 9 News anchors reading the same story essentially verbatim in different newscasts. All right, so for starters, JC, I really hope that you do not hear me read an old script verbatim on Next. We don't do that. And whenever we offer commentary or analysis, something beyond the basic who, what, when, where, why of a story, those words are always our own. And no one here is forced to say anything if they have an ethical concern about it. Hope that answers your question, JC.
Watching for an opening day storm? Charlie Blackman becomes our new weather forecasting tool. We remember snowy opening days of not so old. And you smart people know that before our weather was officially recorded at DIA, Stapleton was the gauge. But how about before that? No Googling. Email next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext if you know the location.
Neither snow nor rain nor heat can deter the Rockies from making their opening day rounds. The snow possible in the forecast for Friday's home opener. We remember 1994. It snowed that day, and Coloradans were prepared with parkas and jackets. The incomparable Kim Christensen was our reporter assigned to the snow day opening day in 1994. Fast forward a decade, 2004, Chris Vanderveen had the assignment.
The seats didn't fare much better. Sure, it may look good, but it's also pretty difficult getting ice and snow off tens of thousands of seats.
Opening day, it doesn't matter if it's been a foot of snow, I'd have still been here.
But drip by drip, it did manage to get a bit warm.
Hey, pearly whites.
Maybe not that warm, but warm enough.
Sun's out, looks like it's going to be a good day.
School blast from the past. So today, we're kicking off a new Blink and You'll Miss It feature you'll see here on Next. Rockies weather, nasty or nice. Charlie Blacken's Beard is calling for a chilly day. Below freezing in the morning, warming up by early afternoon. Temperatures dropping through the 40s and below once the game starts at 2 o'clock.
That is so awesome. It helps me get over the fact that the Rockies dugout store doesn't have the Chris Iannetta jersey or bobblehead in yet, but it's coming. I have the Weather Rock, the Magic 8-Ball, and the Weather Crystal. I am working on that opening day forecast as we speak. For now, though, looking pretty good, right? It was cold. That north wind kept temperatures in the 40s today, 26 degrees cooler than yesterday and well below average. It all changes tomorrow, though. Going to kick off a nice warming trend that'll get us through Thursday afternoon before that Friday storm arrives. As a matter of fact, the winds over the higher peaks starting to subside a little bit as well. The red flag warnings, the wind warnings starting to cancel out for many areas. So with high pressure setting up, we have a mostly sunny day coming up tomorrow. Less wind, beautiful temperatures along the Front Range. And then we'll set our sights on that California storm, which may make our Friday forecast interesting. Tonight, fair skies and 32, a little less wind after sunset. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, highs in the mid-60s. Similar forecast Thursday will add some mountain snow. I think it'll be all rain initially on Friday, but colder and raw for sure. Low 40s, mixing with snow late in the day if it gets cold enough, hopefully after the 2 o'clock start. 60s with sunshine for the upcoming weekend. Oh, we're just hoping, that it's going to be a winning forecast anyways, Lisa Kyle.
Our next question comes from a viewer named Jerry. I've lived in the Denver area my whole life, even when Stapleton Airport was the official weather source. I know that it's now DIA. My question is, where was it prior to Stapleton, before my time?
Jerry, I have wondered the same. Here is what our team found. The first unofficial weather records in Denver are from 1859. The first official measurements came in 1871. They were taken at a building near Larimer and 16th. And then in 1916, the Weather Bureau moved to the post office building that's at 19th and Stout. 5 miles east of there, Stapleton Airport became Denver's weather official station in 1950, and then 10 miles farther out east to DIA in 1995.
A neighborhood hopes to save an old strip club sign with a pile of dollar bills. And we'll play What Do You Say with a Colorado place name that I reliably mispronounce on air. Next.
Truly preserving history means saving the seedy along with the stately. And we know Colfax has plenty of both. Consider the old 1960s neon sign for PT's All Nude Club. The club is gone, but neighbors are involved in new gyrations to save the sign.
That's what Colfax was very much known for. Many of the motels and the bars and the lounges were lit up with these wonderful neon signs of the 40s and 50s and 60s. And it would be nice to be able to keep that history for us. Some months ago, the city bought the property on which PT's club was. And there's a great big sign in front of it that has quite a history. It wasn't always a strip club. It began as a restaurant, a famous chef, but then it became a nightclub, and better known as Saturdays, although it was also Fridays, Saturdays. And then it became PT's, which was a strip club. The property is going to probably be for sale. It'll probably have some affordable housing. And I said, well, can we leave it up for the duration as long as we can? Because it would be really nice, and I would hope to do this someday, to maybe restore some of the signs that are still there and light them up. My first trip ever to Colfax was in 1960. We were traveling, if you could imagine, a 57 pink Chevy station wagon. And I remember Colfax and I remember the signs. It would be wonderful to be able to keep them. So we have that piece of history of Colfax.
That story came to us through the lens of 9 News photojournalist Corky Scholl. Full disclosure, Corky lives in that neighborhood and he's part of the group trying to save the neon signs like the one in the story. We play a game here called What Do You Say? To sort out the proper pronunciations of Colorado place names, because there are some tricky ones. And then there are common ones which I still struggle with after a decade in Denver for no reason. So take the city in Boulder County rather, starts with an L. You got Megan, Anthony, and Lori all asked if we could set the record straight. So we called up the city's mayor, Christine Berg, and asked her, what do you say?
People put the sort of emphasis in different parts of the word. But people ask me often, how do you say this? And we're not one of the French Lafayette. So we were founded by a woman named Mary Miller in 1889 after she discovered a coal seam on her property. So we're an old mining town, and she named the city after her late husband, who had passed away several years earlier, and his name was Lafayette. That's things. We're very proud to be a city that was started by a woman, and we know that she was one of the first, if the only, female bank president in the country at the time. She was a huge proponent of the miners and platted the town, so that was our story of origin.
So if someone comes up and asks you that question, how do you say it?
I say Lafayette.
I swear she said it 2 different ways in the piece. Did you not hear that? She said Lafayette and she said Lafayette. I'm telling you, I reliably butcher this. I am so sorry to everybody who lives up there. I'm going to try to do better. I think we need to call the mayor again. I feel like I heard her say Lafayette and Lafayette. Anyway, this is indisputable. The mayor says the current city council is made up of 6 women and 1 man. That is a first in the city history. And she said that she thinks that Mary Miller, founder of Lafayette, would be proud of that fact. You can send us in search of another hard-to-pronounce place name. Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. I don't know. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. When we return, we are getting some feedback that claims we did something horrible here. Address that head on. Next. We are getting some feedback, spicy feedback. Chris tweeted, upset with our affordable housing investigation, saying, remember when you found out hundreds of people were fraudulently sold homes meant for affordable housing, and then you instantly ratted them out to the government for ratings? Haha, that was hilarious. Those people will lose literally everything. Thanks. Chris, my man, the homeowners came to us. They were worried about the city of Denver forcing them from their homes in secret. They decided to go public, thinking that maybe some attention to the issue could help them. We finish with more of your feedback. Lee Newman writes in about Anastasia Bolton's investigation into secret prisoners, says, why are victims worried about where someone who is serving life is located? Well, Lee, Colorado's Victims' Bill of Rights gives them the right to know where their perpetrator is being held. It's a safety and security issue for the prisons. We understand that, but that's why we got involved with the issue. Keep the feedback coming. We'll see you next time.